Hello, and welcome to Physics at Night. I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're lying down in bed with the lights dimmed low, slowly melting into your pillow, or curled on the couch, letting your mind float like a leaf on still water, this space is for you. Tonight, we begin something quietly astonishing. We're going to ask the question that lives in every human heart. We're going to ask if we can turn the river around. We're going to talk about time travel, but not the flashing lights and machines you see in movies. We're going to talk about the geometry of regret and the physics of hope. We're going to explore whether the past is truly gone, or if it is simply a room in the universe that we have locked the door to. The story of time travel isn't just about paradoxes. It is poetry folded into the laws of special relativity. It is about the comfort of knowing that your history is safe, and how, with the right kind of sleep, you are already a traveller to the future. Now, I should gently warn you, this tale may soothe you so well you won't hear the end, but if it keeps your mind glowing a bit too long, I promise that even wakefulness can be restful when filled with wonder. If you find peace in this moment, I'd be grateful if you gave this video a quiet like, and maybe subscribe for more dreamy science. And if you're comfortable, I'd love to know where you're listening from and what time it is there. Your words light up a map of bedtime from around the world, a constellation of rest. As always, this story is for relaxation and gentle education only. It is not a substitute for medical advice or professional care, just a safe harbour to fall asleep with curiosity. Now, let's begin. Your day has been a one-way street. You have moved from morning to afternoon to night. You have watched the sun cross the sky in a single unbreakable arc. It feels like time is an arrow that only flies in one direction. But what if I told you that direction is just a suggestion, a local habit of the universe? While you lie there, apparently stuck in the now, the equations of physics tell a different story. Einstein taught us that the difference between the past, the present, and the future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. It sounds impossible, but feel it with me instead. Imagine you're looking at a map of a winding road. You're standing at 1 mile marker, but the road behind you, the miles you have already walked, they didn't disappear. They are still there, frozen in the landscape, and the road ahead, the miles you haven't seen yet, they're already paved, they're waiting. That is exactly where we are going tonight. We're going to hover above the map of time. We're going to see that the past is not lost and the future is not empty. This isn't just theoretical physics. It is a kind of cosmic reassurance. It means you don't have to carry the weight of the years. It means that every moment you've ever loved is still shining somewhere in the block of space-time. So take a deep breath, drop your shoulders, and let's explore the physics of the loop. Enough thinking. Let us begin right here, in the quiet of this room, in the stillness of this moment. Before we talk about equations or wormholes or the speed of light, we must first talk about the feeling that brought you here. You are lying in the dark. The house is silent. The world outside has slowed down to a hum, and in this silence, you can feel something moving. It is not the wind, it is not the traffic, it is the invisible, relentless, forward motion of the universe. We call it time. We are so used to it that we rarely stop to look at it. We live inside it. Like a fish lives inside the ocean. We breathe it. We move through it. We measure our lives by the ticking of its current. But tonight, I want you to step out of the current for a moment. I want you to climb up onto the riverbank and look at the water. What is this thing that separates you from yesterday? Think about the photos you might have on your phone or in an old album on a shelf. Picture a photograph from 10 years ago. You see the faces, you recognize the smiles, you remember the sunlight hitting the wall that day, you remember the smell of the air, you remember exactly how you felt. It feels so close. It feels like you could reach out and touch it. It feels like if you just turned around quickly enough, you could step back into that frame. But you cannot. There is a wall of glass between you and that moment. It is a wall made of time. This is the source of the question we're asking tonight. The question is not really about technology. It is not about building a machine with flashing lights and dials. The question is about longing. It is about nostalgia. Nostalgia comes from two Greek words, nostos, meaning return home, and algos, meaning pain. Nostalgia is the pain of not being able to return home. Why does the universe allow us to remember the past if it forbids us from going there? Why does it give us the map, but not the vehicle? This seems like a flaw in the design. It seems like a locked door in a house that we own. So, naturally, we ask the question, is the door truly locked? Or do we just not have the key yet? As you lie there, think about the direction of your life. You are moving forward, always forward. You cannot stop the motion. You can hold your breath, but you cannot hold the moment. You can close your eyes, but you cannot pause the aging of your cells. It feels like you are on a train with no brakes, a train that is travelling deeper and deeper into the future with every beat of your heart. Tonight, we're going to walk to the front of that train. We're going to ask the conductor if the train has a reverse gear. But before we do, we have to appreciate the strangeness of the situation. Think about space. Think about the room you are in. You can move left. You can move right. You can walk forward to the door, and you can walk backward to the bed. Space is democratic. Space allows you to roam. It doesn't care which way you go. Here and there are just locations. You can visit them whenever you want. But time is a dictator. Time says, you may only go this way. Time says, you can remember the past, but you cannot touch it. Time says, you can guess the future, but you cannot see it. Why is time so different from space? Why is the fourth dimension so strict? This mystery is what keeps physicists awake at night. Because when we look at the fundamental laws of the universe, when we look at the atoms and the forces and the energy, we don't see an arrow in the math of the universe. Backward looks a lot like forward. The equations don't seem to care, and yet we care. We care deeply. So tonight, we are going to explore this tension, the tension between what the math allows and what our lives allow. We are going to gently push against the glass wall of the now, but don't worry, we're not going to break anything. We're not going to disrupt the timeline of your life. We're simply going to look at the glass very closely. Imagine the dust motes floating in your room right now. They are suspended in the air, catching a tiny bit of light from the street lamp outside. They look still, but they are drifting. They're drifting from the past, a second ago, into the future, a second from now. They are tiny time travelers, and you are a time traveler too. You're traveling at a rate of 60 seconds per minute, 60 minutes per hour, 24 hours per day. You're a voyager. You've traveled millions of miles through time since the day you were born. The question is, are you the captain of the ship, or are you just a passenger? Most of us feel like passengers. We feel like we are strapped into the seat, watching the scenery fly by, watching the seasons change, watching the years dissolve. But physics offers us a different perspective. Physics suggests that the scenery isn't disappearing. It suggests that the scenery is still there, just out of sight. Imagine a long, winding road at night. You're driving a car. Your headlights only show you the 100 feet of road in front of you, and your rearview mirror shows you the darkness behind you. Does the road behind you cease to exist just because you can't see it? No. The town you left is still there. The house you left is still there. And the destination ahead of you, the city you haven't reached yet, it is there too. It is waiting. It is built of stone and steel, sitting in the dark, waiting for your headlights to find it. This is how a physicist sees time, not as a disappearing act, but as a landscape, a vast, frozen, eternal landscape. And if time is a landscape, then surely, there must be a way to turn the car around. Surely there must be a back road, a shortcut, a loop. This is the quiet hope that we carry. The hope that goodbye is not forever. The hope that lost is just a temporary state. So, as you settle deeper into your pillow, let that curiosity soften you. Let the question hang in the air like a gentle mist. We're not here to fight the current tonight. We're here to understand the water. We're here to ask, what if? What if the past is still happening? What if the future has already happened? What if the loop is real? It is a big question, maybe the biggest question, but for now, the only time that matters is this one, the dark room, the heavy limbs, the slow breath. You're safe in the now. The now is the only place where you can sleep. You cannot sleep in yesterday. You cannot sleep in tomorrow. You can only rest here. So accept the present moment. Wrap it around you like a blanket. It is the only thing we are sure of. The clock on the wall is ticking. Tick, tick, tick. It is marking the steps of our journey. But tonight, we're going to stop counting the steps, and we are going to start looking at the map. Drift with me now. Let go of the urgency. Let go of the need to control the timeline. We're just looking. We're just wondering. We're just floating on the surface of the mystery. There is no rush to find the answer. The past isn't going anywhere. It will wait for us. So, close your eyes and let us turn the page to the next chapter. Let us ask what this word, time, actually means. We are floating in the dark. We've asked the quiet question. We've admitted that we miss the past. But before we can talk about travelling through time, we have to agree on what the territory actually is. When you say the word time, what image comes into your mind? For most of us, it is a clock. It is a circle with numbers. It is a hand sweeping around a dial. Tick, tick, tick. Or perhaps you see a river, a relentless, flowing stream that carries you away from your childhood and toward old age. You feel like you are a leaf on that water, helpless, drifting, unable to swim back upstream. This is how time feels. It feels like a force. It feels like a fire that burns the fuel of our lives. But to a physicist, time is none of these things. Physics is the art of stripping away feelings, to find the structure underneath. And when we strip away the anxiety of the ticking clock, we find something much simpler and much more solid. To a physicist, time is simply a dimension. Now, dimension is a scary word. It sounds like science fiction, but it really just means a direction. It means a way to move, or a way to measure. Think about the room you're lying in right now. It is a three-dimensional box. It has length. You can move from the head of the bed to the foot of the bed. That is dimension 1. It has width. You can move from the wall on your left to the wall on your right. That is dimension 2. It has height. You can lift your hand up toward the ceiling or drop it down toward the floor. That is dimension 3. These 3 numbers define where you are. If you wanted to tell a drone exactly where to fly to find you, you would give it these 3 numbers: longitude, latitude, altitude. If you give those 3 numbers, the drone will fly to your house. It will fly through your window, and it will hover right above your chest. But there is a problem. There is a missing piece of information, because you won't be in that spot forever. Tomorrow morning, you will leave. 10 years ago, you weren't living here. So, to truly find you, the drone needs a 4th number. It needs to know when to arrive. It needs a coordinate for time. Monday night, 11:30 p.m. That is the 4th dimension. It is just a coordinate. It is just a label on the map of the universe. This brings us to a very comforting realization. We tend to treat space and time as enemies. Space is friendly. We can move around in it. Time is hostile. It forces us forward. But in the math of the universe, in the equations that Einstein wrote, space and time are treated almost exactly the same way. They are stitched together. They are woven into a single fabric called space-time. You cannot have one without the other. You cannot have a where without a when, and you cannot have a when without a where. Imagine you are inviting a friend to a party. You send them an invitation. You say, "The party is at the Grand Hotel on Main Street on the 5th floor." You have given them the 3 spatial dimensions, but if you stop there, they will never find you. They might go to the Grand Hotel next year. They might have gone 10 years ago. They need the time coordinate. Friday at 8 p.m. So, an event in the universe is just a point where 4 lines cross. Up, down, left, right, forward, back, future, past. Why is this soothing? Why should this help you relax your shoulders? Because it changes time from a flow into a place. If time is a dimension, then 11 p.m. is not a fleeting moment that vanishes forever. 11 p.m. is a location. Think about the city you live in. Think about the street corner 5 miles away. You're not standing on that street corner right now. But you know it still exists. You know the pavement is there. The street lamp is there. The buildings are there. Just because you aren't seeing it doesn't mean it vanished. Physics suggests that yesterday is exactly like that street corner. You're not standing in yesterday right now. You've moved down the road to today. But yesterday is still there. It is a valid location in the space-time geometry. It is solid. It is built. It is sitting quietly down the road behind you. This is the beginning of the block universe theory. We will explore this deeper later. But for now, just taste the idea. Imagine the universe is not a movie that is playing on a screen. Imagine the universe is a loaf of bread. The whole loaf exists at once. The heel of the bread is the Big Bang. The front crust is the end of time, and every slice in the middle is a different moment in history. You are a tiny conscious raisin, sitting in one specific slice of the bread. You call your slice now. You look around and say, this is the only reality. But the raisin behind you, the you from 5 minutes ago, is sitting in the previous slice, and that slice is just as real, just as soft, just as warm as the one you are in. You haven't lost the past. You've just moved to a different coordinate. This takes away the pressure of saving time. We're always trying to save time. We rush, we hurry, we multitask. We treat time like money that is slipping through a hole in our pocket. But you cannot lose a dimension. You cannot waste a direction. You don't worry about wasting north. You don't worry about running out of east. North and east are just there, infinite and stable. Time is just there too. You're just travelling through it. Let's talk about the ruler. How do we measure this dimension? For space, we use a ruler. We use wood or plastic or metal. We hold it up against the world and say 1 foot. For time, we cannot use a physical stick. We have to use a rhythm. We have to use something that repeats. In the old days, we used the Earth. 1 spin of the Earth, 1 day. 1 orbit of the Sun, 1 year. These are the ticks of the cosmic ruler. Today, we use atoms. Inside your phone, inside the GPS satellites, there are atoms of cesium vibrating. They vibrate 9 billion times a second. We count the vibrations, and that is our ruler. But notice something. The ruler measures the distance between events. The distance between you waking up and you going to sleep is roughly 16 hours. That is a length. Just like the length of your bed is 6 feet. Your day has a shape. It has a size. It occupies a chunk of the space-time block. And tonight, that chunk is finished. You have completed the measurement. You have walked the distance. You've arrived at the coordinate called sleep. Think of your bed as a specific address in the universe. It has a specific longitude, a specific latitude, a specific altitude, and a specific time. You have parked your ship at these coordinates, and you are safe here. The dimension of time is stretching out ahead of you into the dark of the morning, but you don't have to walk it right now. You can just rest at this mile marker. The road isn't going anywhere. The future isn't going anywhere. It is paved. It is waiting. So, try to visualize time not as a river dragging you downstream. Visualize it as a vast, snowy plain, white, silent, endless. You're a traveller walking across the snow. Behind you are your footprints. Those are your memories. They're pressed into the snow. They're frozen there. They are part of the landscape now. Ahead of you is the untouched snow, smooth, clean, perfect. And right now, you have pitched a tent. You have stopped walking. You have zipped up the door. You're warm inside. The wind of time is blowing outside. But inside the tent, inside the now, there is no wind. There is only the steady coordinate of your breath. You're located. You're found. You're exactly when you're supposed to be. Physics tells us that there is no universal clock. There is no master timekeeper tapping his foot, waiting for you to catch up. There is only your personal clock, your personal journey through the dimension, and your personal clock says it is time to stop. So let the dimension hold you. Space is holding your body. Time is holding your history. You are cradled by the coordinates. Let's drift deeper into this map. Let's look at why. If time is just a map, we feel like we are moving at all. Why can't we stand still in time, the way we stand still in a room? Why does the snow compel us to walk? That is the mystery of the arrow, and we will find it in the next chapter. We have established a strange idea. We have said that time is a dimension. We have said that it is a map, a landscape, a frozen block of reality where the past and the future exist together. But, as you lie there, you might be feeling a gentle resistance to this idea, because your experience doesn't feel like a map. It doesn't feel like a frozen block. It feels like a river. You feel the flow. You feel the moments slipping through your fingers like sand. You feel the now sliding away, turning into the then. Why is there this disconnect? If physics says time is a static coordinate system, why do we feel like we are moving through it? Why does the movie play? Why doesn't the projector just freeze on a single frame? To understand this, we have to look at the machinery of our daily lives. We have to look at the arrow of time. In the laws of physics, at the microscopic level, there is no arrow. If you zoom in on two atoms bouncing off each other where you can play the video forward or backward, and it looks exactly the same. The atoms don't care about time, but in our world, the world of big things, the world of coffee cups and stars and human bodies, there is a very clear direction. Things break, but they don't unbreak. Ice melts, but water doesn't spontaneously freeze into ice cubes on a warm table. You remember the past, but you don't remember the future. This one-way street is governed by the most powerful law in the universe. It is called entropy. Now, entropy sounds technical, but it is actually the most relaxing concept in science. Entropy is simply the tendency of the universe to get comfortable. Imagine a library. If the books are perfectly alphabetized, that is low entropy. It is ordered. It is tight. It takes energy to maintain that order. But if you leave the library alone and people use it, eventually the books get mixed up. They get left on tables. They get put on the wrong shelves. The library moves. Toward high entropy, it moves toward disorder. The universe loves high entropy. The universe loves to be messy. It wants to spread out. It wants to unwind. This is what drives the flow of time. Time moves forward because the universe is constantly moving from a state of tight order to a state of relaxed disorder. Think about an egg. An egg is a highly ordered object. The shell is perfect. The yolk is separated. If you drop it, crack, it splatters. The energy spreads out. The structure breaks. That is the arrow of time. The egg breaks forward. You will never, ever see a puddle of yolk jump up from the floor and seal itself back into a shell. Not because it is impossible, but because it is statistically incredibly unlikely. It would require the universe to tidy up spontaneously, and the universe hates tidying up. So, when you feel time passing, you're actually feeling the universe relaxing. You're feeling the cosmic structure loosening its tie. This is why we get tired. This is why we age. Aging is just entropy. It is the gradual spreading out of our energy. And while that sounds melancholy, it is also peaceful. It means you don't have to fight to move forward. You're being carried by the natural tendency of existence. To go backward in time, you would have to fight entropy. You would have to reassemble the egg. You would have to unburn the candle. You would have to gather all the heat that escaped into the room and shove it back into the flame. That requires infinite effort. But moving forward, that is effortless. That is just letting go. So, the flow of time is really just the flow of energy dispersing. You are a passenger on a river of dissolving order. But there is another reason time feels like a flow. It is inside your head. It is the way your brain is built. Your brain is a storytelling machine. Imagine the block universe again, the frozen loaf of bread. Your consciousness is like a spotlight. It shines on one slice of the bread at a time. It shines on the slice called now, and then it moves to the next slice, and the next. Why does it move? Because your brain works by processing information, and processing takes a sequence. Input, then processing, then output, cause, then effect. You cannot have the thought before the perception. You cannot have the memory before the event. So your biology forces you to read the book of the universe one word at a time. The whole book is written. It is sitting on the shelf. But you can only read one line per second. This creates the illusion of the unfolding. It creates the suspense. What is going to happen next, you ask? The universe knows. The universe has already written it. But you don't know, because your spotlight hasn't reached that page yet. Think about how comforting the steady pace of time is. We often complain that time moves too fast, but imagine if it was erratic. Imagine if time moved like a broken car. Fast, then stop, then reverse, then fast again. You would never be able to rest. You would never be able to plan. Your heart wouldn't know how to beat. Your heart is the original clock. Thump, 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 thump. It relies on the steadiness of time. It trusts that the next second will arrive exactly when it is supposed to. It trusts that the laws of physics won't change in the middle of a beat. This consistency is what allows life to exist. We are creatures of rhythm, and rhythm requires a steady flow. So, as you lie in the dark, feel the rhythm of the arrow. It is moving you away from the noise of the day. It is moving you away from the bright lights, and it is carrying you toward the silence of sleep. You are drifting downstream, and the water is calm here. There are no rapids in your bedroom. There are no waterfalls, just the gentle, persistent, forward drift. Think about memory. This is the strongest evidence we have of the arrow. You can see the past. In your mind, it is clear. You can see your childhood home. You can hear your mother's voice, but you cannot see tomorrow. This asymmetry is what gives life its shape. We stand with our backs to the future, looking at the past. We are walking backward into the dark. We collect moments. We put them in our basket. We say, this happened. If time could flow backward, we would lose those moments. The basket would empty out. We would unlearn things. We would unmeet people. The memories would dissolve like smoke. The forward flow preserves us. It allows us to build. It allows us to grow. It allows a scar to form over a wound. It allows a lesson to be learned from a mistake. If we could go back, we would undo the healing. So the one-way street is actually a protection. It ensures that what is done is done. It ensures that the progress you made today is locked in. You brushed your teeth. That is a fact. You locked the door. That is a fact. You laid down. That is a fact. Entropy has sealed. Those moments in amber, they are safe. You don't have to do them again. So, do not resent the flow. Do not wish to turn the river around. The river is taking you exactly where you need to go. It is taking you to the land of rest. It is taking you to the future, 1 second at a time. And the future, right now, looks very peaceful. The immediate future holds sleep. The immediate future holds dreams. The immediate future holds a soft pillow and a warm blanket. Why would you want to go back? Back to the stress of the morning? Back to the traffic? Back to the noise? No. Forward is better. Forward is quieter. Forward is where the rest is. So, be the leaf. Stop trying to swim upstream. Stop trying to hold on to the branch. Just let go. Let the current take you. It is a slow, lazy river tonight. It is moving at the speed of a slow breath. Inhale, the water rises. Exhale, the water flows. You are experiencing the human time, the time of the heartbeat, the time of the breath, the time of the entropy. It is the most natural thing in the world, and in the next chapter, We're going to see what happens when a genius comes along and breaks this ruler. We're going to see what happens when the river starts to bend. But for now, the river is straight, the river is smooth, and you're floating perfectly. We've arrived at a turning point in our story. So far, we've talked about time the way our ancestors talked about it. We've talked about the flow. We've talked about the seasons. We've talked about the intuitive feeling that now is the same for everyone. For thousands of years, this was the law. From the ancient astronomers looking at the stars, to the great Isaac Newton writing in his study by candlelight, everyone agreed on one thing. They agreed that time was absolute. They believed that the universe had a master clock. They imagined that somewhere, perhaps behind the curtain of the stars, there was a single, perfect metronome ticking away. Tick, tock, tick, tock. And every watch on Earth and every pulse of every star was synchronized to this master clock. It was a comforting thought. It meant that a second in London was exactly the same as a second on Mars. It meant that time was a rigid container, a steel box that held the universe together. But in the year 1905, a young man in Switzerland decided to break the box. His name was Albert Einstein. He was 26 years old. He was not a famous professor. He was not standing in a lecture hall. He was working in a patent office in Bern. He spent his days looking at drawings of gadgets, typing on a typewriter, and staring out the window. And when he looked out the window, he saw the clock tower of Bern. He watched the hands of the clock, and he started to dream. Tonight. I want you to dream with him. I want you to enter the thought experiment that changed the world. Einstein asked himself a very simple, very strange question. He asked, what would happen if I rode a streetcar away from that clock tower at the speed of light? Imagine that. Imagine you're sitting on a tram. It is night. The streets are empty. The tram is quiet. You look back out the rear window at the clock tower. The clock says 12 Uhr. The light from the clock face travels from the hands, through the air, to your eyes. That light carries the information it is 12 land. But now, imagine the tram speeds up. It goes faster and faster. It reaches the speed of light. You are now travelling at the exact same speed as the light beam that left the clock. You are surfing on the wave of light. So, what do you see? If you are moving at the same speed as the image of 12, then the image of 1201 can never catch up to you. The light carrying the next second cannot reach your eyes. To you, sitting on that magic tram, the clock tower would appear to be frozen. The hands would stop moving. Time, for the clock tower, would stand still. But here is the twist. Here is the part that breaks the brain. You, inside the tram, feel perfectly normal. You look at your own wristwatch. Tick, tick, tick. It is moving fine. You check your pulse. Thump, thump. It is beating fine. So, you have a contradiction. Your watch says time is moving. The window says time has stopped. Who is right? Before Einstein, people would have said, you are hallucinating. But Einstein realized something profound. He realized that both of you are right. He realized that time is not a rigid steel box. Time is elastic. Time is like rubber. It can stretch. It can squeeze. It can bend. And the thing that bends it is speed. This was the birth of special relativity. It shattered the idea of the master clock. It proved that there is no correct time for the universe. There is only your time, and my time, and the atom's time. Each of us carries our own bubble of time, and the faster we move, the more our bubble disagrees with everyone else's. Why is this comforting for sleep? Why does this heavy physics help us rest? Because it liberates you from the tyranny of the universal now. We often feel stress because we think we are late. We think the world is moving on without us. We think there is a giant schedule that we are falling behind on. But Einstein teaches us that simultaneity is an illusion. Two things do not happen at the same time for everyone. Imagine two lightning bolts striking the ground miles apart. To a person standing in the middle, they might strike at the exact same instant. Crack, crack. But to a person riding a fast train past them, one might strike before the other. Crack, crack. Who is right? They are both right. The now is subjective. This means that your now, lying in your bed, is a private reality. You're not synced to the frantic now of the city outside. You're not synced to the now of the news cycle. You're in your own reference frame. In physics, a reference frame is simply your point of view. It is your laboratory. And tonight, your bed is your reference frame. It is a valid observatory. From your perspective, the world outside is distorted. The world outside is blurry, and that is okay. You don't have to agree with the world's clock. You have your own. Einstein taught us that the only thing in the universe that is constant is light. Light always travels at the same speed. It is the speed limit of reality. 299,792, 458 meters per second. Because light is stubborn, time has to be flexible. If you try to chase a beam of light, time will slow down to make sure you never catch it. Time sacrifices itself to save the speed of light. Think of time as a shock absorber. The universe is a bumpy ride. There is motion, there is gravity, there is energy. And time acts like the suspension system on a car. It compresses and expands to keep the laws of physics smooth. So when you feel tired, imagine that your personal suspension system is compressing. You're absorbing the bumps of the day. You're entering a state of time dilation. Dilation means to widen, like the pupils of your eyes dilating in the dark. Einstein showed us that time can widen. A single second can be stretched out until it is long enough to hold a whole dream. This theory changed everything. It meant that space and time were not separate things. They were fused together. Einstein stopped calling it time, and he stopped calling it space. He started calling it the continuum. A continuum is something that is continuous. It has no gaps. It has no breaks. It is a smooth, flowing sheet. You are resting on that sheet right now. Think about the implications of this. If time is flexible, then it is not a prison. It is a landscape. Newton thought time was a prison, a grid of iron bars that locked us in. Einstein showed us that time is a velvet curtain. It ripples, it flows, it wraps around us. The present moment is not a sharp knife edge. It is a soft, fuzzy bubble. And inside that bubble, the laws of physics are protecting you. There is a concept in relativity called the light cone. It sounds fancy, but it is simple. It is the bubble of here and now that surrounds you. Anything outside of your light cone cannot affect you right now. It is physically impossible for a signal to reach you from outside the cone. When you close your eyes, you're shrinking your cone. You're pushing the world away. You're making your now smaller and safer. Einstein was a man who loved solitude. He loved to sail his little boat on the lake. He loved to play the violin. He understood the need for quiet. And his theory is a theory of quiet. It says that you can never be fully synchronized with the noise. There is always a delay. There is always a distance. You're always slightly separated from the rest of the universe. You're an island of time. So, accept the elasticity. Feel the moment stretching out. The clock on your wall is a mechanical device. It doesn't know about relativity. It keeps ticking the same old way. Tick, tick, tick. But your mind knows better. Your mind knows that the duration of a second depends on how you are moving. And tonight, you are not moving. You are still. And because you are still, you're experiencing the purest form of time. You're experiencing proper time. This is the time measured by a clock that is resting on your chest. It is the time of your heart. It is the time of your breath. Let the rest of the world race around at the speed of light. Let the emails fly. Let the satellites spin. You are the observer on the quiet platform, watching the train go by. The train is full of people rushing to the future, but you're standing still. You're watching the light streak past. Beautiful, fast, separate. You don't need to get on the train tonight. You are home. Einstein gave us the permission to disconnect. He broke the master clock so that we could have our own. So, listen to your own rhythm, not the ticking on the wall, but the slow, fluid, elastic rhythm of your own consciousness. It is slowing down. It is widening. It is preparing to drift. And in the next chapter, we're going to see what happens when we start to move. We are going to see how speed actually changes the aging process itself. But for now, stay in the station. The air is cool, the bench is comfortable, and the clock tower is frozen at midnight. We've accepted the idea that time is elastic. We've accepted that it can bend. But now, we need to see how it bends. We need to understand the mechanics of the stretch. To do this, we're going to tell a story. It is the most famous story in the history of physics. It is a fairy tale of the atomic age. It is the story of the twins. Imagine two identical twins. Let's call them Alice and Bob. They are born on the same day. They grow up in the same house. They have the same heartbeat. Their internal clocks are perfectly synchronized, but when they turn 20, they make different choices. Bob decides to stay on Earth. He likes the garden. He likes the gravity. He likes the steady rhythm of the sun rising and setting. He chooses to be stationary. Alice is an explorer. She becomes an astronaut. She builds a ship that can travel incredibly fast, not just airplane fast, light speed fast. She says goodbye to Bob. She climbs into her silver ship and she blasts off into the cosmos. She travels to a distant star. Let's say it is 10 light years away. She flies there at 99% of the speed of light. She circles the star and she flies back to Bob, waiting on Earth. The math is simple. The star is far away. The ship is fast. He waits on his porch. He watches the seasons change. He watches his hair turn grey. He watches 20 years pass. He's now 40 years old. But then, the ship returns. It lands quietly in the garden. The hatch opens, and Alice steps out. And here is the miracle. Alice is not 40. Alice is barely 21. She's only been gone for a few months. Her skin is smooth. Her hair is dark. Her watch has only ticked a fraction of the times that Bob's watch has ticked. She has travelled into the future. She has skipped the 20 years of waiting. This is not magic. This is time dilation. It creates a strange feeling in the mind, doesn't it? It feels unfair. Why did Bob have to age? Why did Alice get to stay young? It comes down to a fundamental rule of the universe, a rule that I want you to visualize right now. Imagine that every single object in the universe including you, is moving through space-time at a constant speed. We're all travelling at the speed of light. But here is the catch. We can share that speed between two dimensions. We can spend it moving through space, or we can spend it moving through time. But the total speed must always add up to the limit. Think of it like a car that has a fixed speed. It is always going 100 miles per hour. If the car drives north through space, it makes progress across the map, but it isn't making any progress east through time. If the car turns and drives east, it makes progress in time, but no progress in space. Bob, sitting on his porch, was using all of his speed to travel through time. He wasn't moving through space, so he raced through the years. He aged quickly. Alice, in her rocket, turned the steering wheel. She decided to use most of her speed to travel through space. She poured her energy into moving across the stars, and because she was using her speed for space, she had very little speed left for time. She moved through time slowly. She barely aged. She traded time for distance. This is the cosmic trade-off. The faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. Now, let's look inside Alice's ship. Let's see why her clock slowed down. We're going to build the light clock again. Imagine Alice has a simple clock on her ship. It consists of two mirrors, one on the floor, one on the ceiling. A single photon of light bounces between them. Ping, pong, ping, pong, up and down. Each bounce is 1 second. From Alice's perspective, sitting inside the ship, the clock looks normal. The photon goes straight up and straight down. It is a short vertical path. Tick, tick, tick. But now, let's look at it from Bob's perspective. Bob is standing on Earth with a telescope. He's watching Alice's ship fly by at incredible speed. What does he see? He sees the photon leave the floor mirror, but by the time the photon reaches the ceiling has moved. The ship has moved forward, so the photon doesn't go straight up. It has to travel diagonally. It has to chase the ceiling. It travels up and to the right, and then, on the way down, it travels down and to the right. The photon is tracing a zigzag path through the universe. Now, look at the geometry. A diagonal line is always longer than a vertical line. The hypotenuse of a triangle is longer than the side. So, the photon has to travel a longer distance for a single tick. And remember the golden rule? The speed of light cannot change. The photon cannot speed up to cover the extra distance. It has to plod along at its normal speed. So, if the distance is longer and the speed is the same, the time must be longer. To Bob, Alice's clock is ticking. In slow motion. Tick. Took. The photon is taking a long, lazy diagonal detour. This is why Alice stays young. Her atoms are the light clock. The electrons spinning around her nucleus are like those photons. They have to travel the diagonal path. Her biology slows down. Her thoughts slow down. Her aging slows down. She is preserved by her speed. Why is this a comforting thought for you? Lying in your bed. You're not moving at the speed of light. You're mostly stationary. You are like Bob. But there is a beauty in being Bob. Bob is the observer. Bob is the anchor. Alice missed everything. Alice missed the 20 years. She missed the sunsets. She missed the birthdays. She missed the slow, quiet growth of the garden. She preserved her body, but she lost her history. Bob lived it. Bob experienced the richness of the time. We often wish we could freeze time. We wish we could be like Alice. We want to stay young forever. But the price of staying young is missing out on life. The price of slowing down the clock is disconnecting from the world. So, accept your aging. Accept the ticking of your watch. It means you are present. It means you are here, fully engaged with the dimension of time. You're using your cosmic speed to travel through experience. And remember, this effect is happening to you right now, in tiny ways. The satellites orbiting the Earth, the GPS satellites, are moving fast, 14,000 kilometers per hour. Their clocks actually slow down compared to yours. They gain a few microseconds every day. The engineers have to program the computers to fix it. If they didn't, the GPS would drift. The map on your phone would be wrong. So every time you look at your phone to find a coffee shop, you are holding proof of relativity in your hand. You are holding proof that time is not absolute. Think about the molecules in your body. They are vibrating. Heat is motion. When you are hot, your molecules are moving fast. When you're cold, they slow down. When you sleep, you cool down. Your body temperature drops. Your vibration slows. In a poetic sense, you're becoming more stationary. You are anchoring yourself even deeper into the timeline. You are deciding to stop racing. Alice is racing. The world outside is racing. The cars on the highway are trying to beat the clock. They are trying to get there faster. But you know the secret. There is nowhere to get to. The destination is just another slice of the bread. So, let the clock tick. Let the diagonal line straighten out. Let the zigzag become a smooth vertical line. Up and down, up and down. The simplest path, the path of least resistance. You are the stationary twin tonight. You are the keeper of the garden. You're watching the stars fly by, and you are content to stay right here. Feel the heaviness of your stillness. The heavier you are, the more real you are. Alice is a ghost. She is. Skipping the story. You're reading every word. So read the word sleep, and then read the word dream. Let the physics of motion fade away. You don't need speed. You have gravity, and gravity is enough. We've learned about the first way to travel through time. We've learned about speed. We learned that if you race a rocket ship across the galaxy, you can skip the years. You can outrun the clock. But there is a problem with speed. Speed is exhausting. Speed requires engines. It requires fuel. It requires noise. To stay young by moving fast, you have to be restless. You have to leave your home. But Einstein wasn't finished. 10 years after he discovered that speed slows time, he had another thought, a heavier thought. He realized that there is another way to bend the curve. You don't need a rocket ship. You don't need to go anywhere. You just need to be near something massive. You just need gravity. This was the birth of General Relativity, and it is the physics of the heavy blanket. To understand it, we have to change how we see the floor beneath your bed. Usually we think of gravity as a magnet. We think the earth is pulling us down. We think of it as a force that grabs our ankles and holds us to the grass. But Einstein said, no, gravity is not a pull. Gravity is a shape. Imagine a soft mattress, the space-time mattress. If you place a heavy bowling ball in the center, what happens? The mattress curves. It dips down. It creates a valley. If you roll a marble near that valley, it curves toward the ball. It isn't being pulled. It is just following the slope. It is rolling downhill. This is what the Earth is doing to the universe right now. The Earth is a heavy iron ball sitting on the fabric of space-time, and it is creating a deep, comfortable dimple in reality. And you, lying in your bed, are resting at the bottom of that dimple. Now, here is the magic. The curve doesn't just bend space, it bends time. Physics tells us that the deeper you go into a gravity well, the slower time flows. It is almost like the air getting thicker. At the top of a mountain, the air is thin and fast. At the bottom of the valley, or the air is thick and heavy. Time works the same way. Time is a fluid, and gravity makes that fluid viscous. It makes it like honey. This is called gravitational time dilation. It means that right now, simply by lying down, simply by being close to the heavy center of the earth, you're slowing down your personal clock. Let's prove this. This isn't just a nice story. It is a measurable fact. In the 1970s, scientists did an experiment. They took incredibly precise atomic clocks. They put one clock on a plane and flew it high up into the atmosphere, away from the Earth, and they left the other clock on the ground, deep in the gravity. When the plane landed, they compared the clocks, and they disagreed. The clock that stayed on the ground was slow. The clock that went up into the sky was fast. The higher you go, the faster you age. The lower you go, the slower you age. Think about skyscraper. The people living in the penthouse on the 100th floor are further away from the earth than the people on the ground floor. Gravity is slightly weaker up there. The curve is slightly flatter, so time moves faster in the penthouse. The rich people at the top are aging faster than the doorman at the bottom. It is a tiny difference, billionths of a nanosecond, but it is real. The high life is the fast life, but the low life, the grounded life, is the slow life. This gives a whole new meaning to the word down. We usually think of down as a negative direction. I'm feeling down. Don't look down. But in physics, down is the direction of preservation. Down is the direction of rest. When you lie down to sleep, you're lowering your center of gravity. You're bringing your head closer to the floor. You're aligning your body with the curvature of the earth. You're instinctively moving toward the place where time is slowest. Imagine the earth's core beneath you. Thousands of miles of rock and iron spinning heavy, ancient. It is the anchor of our world, and it is radiating a field of slowness that passes up through the crust, through the foundation of your building, through the legs of your bed, and into you. You are soaking in the gravity. You are marinating in the time dilation. This is why heaviness feels so good when we're tired. You know that feeling when your eyelids get heavy, when your limbs feel like lead, when you feel like you're sinking into the mattress. Do not fight that feeling. That is the feeling of the physics working. Weight is just your connection to the curve. The heavier you feel, the more the universe is holding you. If you felt weightless, you would be drifting in space. You would be lost. But you have weight. You have mass. You're being held tight by the planet. Think of gravity as a protective hug. The earth is wrapping its arms around you and saying, stay here. Don't rush. I will slow the clock for you. Now, let's look at the mountain of your day. When you wake up in the morning, you stand up. You climb out of bed. You go to work. Maybe you work in a tall building. Maybe you fly in a plane. Maybe you just rush around the city. You are climbing the time hill. You're going up to the peak where the wind is fast and the time is rushing. You spend your energy fighting the gravity, climbing up, rushing. But now, the climb is over. You're coming back down the mountain. Sleep is the return to the valley. Sleep is the descent. Visualize a stream of water flowing down a mountain. Up at the top, it is a waterfall. It is crashing. It is white and foamy and loud. That was your day. But as it reaches the bottom, it widens out. It enters the deep, flat riverbed of the valley. The water turns dark. The water turns smooth. It barely looks like it is moving at all. That is where you are now. You're in the deep water. The gravity down here is strong, but it is gentle. It doesn't pull you in a scary way. It just keeps you from floating away. It keeps you grounded. Think about the difference between a light thought and a heavy thought. During the day, your thoughts are light. They are fast. They flutter like birds. What's for lunch? Did I lock the door? What did she mean by that? Flutter, flutter, flutter. But at night, as the gravity takes hold, your thoughts become heavy. They become slow. They sink deep into the subconscious. Who am I? What is love? What is peace? These are heavy thoughts. They belong in the deep gravity well. They move slowly, like whales swimming in the deep ocean. Allow your mind to become heavy. Allow your brain to synchronize with the earth. You're not just a person lying on a surface. You're a part of the planet's mass. For the next 8 hours, you're effectively a rock. You're effectively a tree root. You're part of the landscape. And because you are part of the landscape, you inherit the landscape's time, geological time. Rocks don't worry about seconds. Mountains don't worry about minutes. They measure time in eons. When you sink into gravity, you're tapping into that ancient slow rhythm. So, let's do a check of your own personal gravity field. Feel your shoulders. Are they holding themselves up? Are they trying to float? Let them drop. Let gravity have them. Feel your jaw. Is it clenched? Is it trying to hold on? Let it drop. Let the earth take the weight of it. Feel the back of your head, the control center. It is heavy. It is full of memories. Let it sink into the pillow. Let the pillow rise up to meet it. Every time you exhale, imagine you're sinking 1 inch deeper into the earth, 1 inch closer to the slow core. Exhale and sink. Exhale and sink. You're getting heavier, and because you're getting heavier, you're getting slower. The world outside, the satellites, the planes, the birds, they're all light. They're all fast. Let them fly. Let them race. You are the stone at the bottom of the pond. The water rushes over you, but you do not move. You're protected by the depth. You're protected by the layers of atmosphere and rock and history. Einstein taught us that gravity creates a barrier of time. Signals from the outside have to fight to get down to you. They have to climb down the ladder, and by the time they reach you, they are tired. The noise is muffled. The light is dim. You're in the safe zone, the bunker of physics. So enjoy the wait. Enjoy the drag on the clock. If you feel like the night is long, that is good. You want a long night. You want the hours to stretch. You want to dilate the darkness until it is big enough to heal you. Gravity is the tool that stretches the night. It pulls on the shadows and makes them long. It pulls on the silence and makes it deep. So trust the curve. The mattress is curving to hold you. The earth is curving to hold the mattress. The space-time is curving to hold the earth. It is a nest inside a nest inside a nest, and you are in the center, safe, heavy, slow. We have spent a lot of time talking about clocks. We have talked about light beams bouncing off mirrors. We have talked about twins in rocket ships. But now, I want to bring the focus back to you. We are asking the question, is time travel possible? And usually when we ask that, we're looking for a complex answer. We're expecting to hear about wormholes or quantum foam or negative energy, but the truth is much simpler, and it is much more profound. The answer is yes, time travel is possible. In fact, It is unavoidable. You're doing it right now. You're a time traveler. You're a voyager moving through the fourth dimension. You're gliding away from the past and into the future with every single beat of your heart. Now, you might say, that doesn't count. That's just living. But to a physicist, living and traveling are the same thing. You're navigating a coordinate system. You're moving from coordinate t0 now to coordinate t1 tomorrow. The only limitation you have, the only thing that makes it feel mundane, is your speed. You're stuck on cruise control. You're travelling at a fixed rate of 1 second per second. It feels slow. It feels like walking. Sometimes, when you're waiting for something, or when you're trying to fall asleep, it feels like crawling. But imagine if you could change gears. Imagine if you could press a button and change your rate of travel. Imagine if you could close your eyes for 1 second and open them and find that 8 hours had passed. You would have skipped the night. You would have leaped over the darkness. You would have arrived in the future instantly. Well, I have a secret for you. You have that button. It is built into your dashboard. It is called sleep. We rarely think of sleep as physics. We think of it as biology. We think of it as a necessity. But in the context of time, sleep is a warp drive. Think about the experience of deep, dreamless sleep. Consciousness shuts down. The recording device stops. The you that measures the duration of the world goes offline to the universe. The clock keeps ticking. The earth rotates. The moon moves across the sky. The traffic dies down and starts up again. The physical world has to trudge through every single minute of the night. But you get to skip it. For you, the moment you fall asleep and the moment you wake up are stitched together. They touch. You close your eyes in the dark and you open them in the sunlight. To your internal perception, the travel was instantaneous. You just performed a time skip. You deleted the boring part of the timeline. This is exactly what astronauts do in science fiction movies. When they have to travel to a distant planet, they don't sit in the chair and wait for 100 years. That would be unbearable. They climb into a stasis pod. They lower the glass lid. They lower their temperature. And they go to sleep. They let the ship do the work. They let the universe do the waiting. Tonight, I want you to view your bed as a stasis pod. It is a machine designed for one-way time travel. It is a vessel built to transport you from Tuesday night to Wednesday morning. The journey is long, nearly 30,000 seconds, but the perceived time will be 0. So, how do we engage the engines? How do we initiate the jump? First, we have to align the ship. That means lying still. If you are moving around, if you're checking your phone, if you're worrying, you're keeping the sensors active, you're staying anchored in the now. To travel to the future, you have to let go of the present. You have to trust the autopilot. The autopilot is your circadian rhythm. It knows the way. It has made this journey thousands of times before. It knows exactly how to guide your brainwaves down from the fast beta frequency into the slow, rhythmic delta frequency. Delta waves are the frequency of time travel. When your brain enters delta, you lose the sense of self. You lose the sense of duration. You become pure potential. You're essentially putting your consciousness into airplane mode. You're cutting the signal, and when there is no signal, there is no time. Think about how safe this form of travel is. We often worry about the future. We worry about what tomorrow will bring. But the best way to get to tomorrow is to not worry about it at all. It is to simply arrive there. Sleep allows you to arrive in the future, refreshed. It allows you to arrive with a full battery. It allows you to arrive with a repaired body. If you stayed awake all night, you would arrive in the future damaged. You would be tired, you would be slow, you would be lagging. But by using the stasis pod, you arrive in optimal condition. So, look at the darkness behind your eyelids. That is not empty space. That is the hyperspace tunnel. It is the void between the here and the there. It is the tunnel you pass through to get to the morning. It is quiet in the tunnel. There is no scenery. There is no noise. There is only the smooth, silent, forward motion. Feel the sensation of moving forward. You're not going back. We established that. The past is a closed room, but the future is an open door, and you are gliding toward it. Imagine the sun that is waiting for you on the other side. It is already shining in the future. The birds are already singing in the future. The coffee is already brewing in the future. It is all there, waiting for you to catch up. You don't need to rush. You don't need to run. You just need to close your eyes and let the current take you. We often wish we had a time machine to fix things. We want to go back and change a mistake. But physics suggests that the only way to fix things is to move forward. The future is the place where solutions exist. The future is the place where healing happens. A wound doesn't heal in the past. It heals in the future. A broken heart doesn't mend in the past. It mends in the future. So, by travelling forward, you are travelling toward the solution. You are travelling toward the better version of yourself. Every morning, you wake up slightly different. Your cells have regenerated. Your memories have consolidated. You are a new person, standing in a new time. So embrace the journey. Don't be afraid of the time skipping. Don't be afraid of losing 8 hours. You're not losing them. You're trading them. You're trading 8 hours of darkness for 16 hours of light. It is a good deal. So, settle into the capsule. Feel the gravity holding you down. That is the G-force of the launch. You're about to accelerate. You're about to leave this moment behind. The worries of today, they belong to the past you. They're being left on the launch pad. The future you, the one who will open their eyes in the morning, will handle the rest. But now, you're in transit. You're in the gap. There are no responsibilities in the gap. There are no deadlines in the gap. Just the hum of the ship, just the quiet of the ride. Listen to your breath. In and out. That is the sound of the engine. Steady, reliable, eternal. You're safe. You're moving, and the destination is assured. You will arrive. The sun will rise. The world will turn. All you have to do is let go of the controls. You're a passenger tonight. Enjoy the view of the darkness. Enjoy the peace of the void. You are travelling forward. We've spent the last hour floating in the realm of ideas. We've imagined twins in rocket ships. We've imagined light beams bouncing off mirrors. We've imagined the bed as a stasis pod. But the mind, even a sleepy mind, is a skeptic. It whispers in the dark. Is this really true? Is this just a mathematical trick? Or does it actually happen in the real world? It is a fair question. We don't see people vanishing into the future on the street. We don't see cars turning into streaks of light. The world looks solid. It looks stable. It looks synchronized. But tonight, I want to tell you that the synchronization is a lie. And I want to prove it to you. I want to take you up, way up, 12,000 miles above your roof. I want to take you to the realm of the satellites, Right now, as you lie in the quiet, there is a constellation of machines orbiting the Earth. There are 31 of them. They are the GPS satellites, the Global Positioning System. You know them. Well, they are the invisible guides that tell your phone where you are. They guide the planes. They guide the ships. They guide the delivery driver to your door. But to a physicist, they are not just maps. They are time machines. These satellites are doing a very difficult dance with the laws of physics, and they are fighting two different wars with time. War number 1, speed. These satellites are moving incredibly fast. They are orbiting at 8,700 miles per hour. They circle the planet twice every single day, according to special relativity, the speed rule. Because they are moving fast, their clock should tick slower. They should fall behind the clocks on Earth by about 7 microseconds a day. War number 2, gravity. These satellites are very high up. They are far away from the heavy iron core of the Earth. The gravity up there is weak. The curvature of space-time is flatter. According to General Relativity, the gravity rule, because they are in weak gravity, their clock should tick faster. They should race ahead of the clocks on Earth by about 45 microseconds a day. So, we have a conflict. Speed wants to slow them down. Gravity wants to speed them up. When you do the math, gravity wins. The net result is that the clocks on the satellites tick faster than the clock on your nightstand. They gain about 38 microseconds every single day. Now, 38 microseconds sounds like nothing. It is a blink of a blink. You would never notice it. But for a GPS system, 38 microseconds is an eternity. Light travels fast. In 38 microseconds, light can travel 7 miles. If the engineers didn't fix this, if they didn't account for Einstein's theories, the map on your phone would drift by 7 miles every single day. On Monday, it would say you're at home. On Tuesday, it would say you're at the gas station down the road. On Wednesday, it would say you're in the next town. The entire system of global navigation would collapse. Within hours, planes would miss runways, ships would hit rocks, the world would be lost. So, what do? They program the satellite clocks to tick slightly slower before they even launch them. They deliberately break the clocks to compensate for the time travel. Think about that. Every time you look at your phone to check the traffic, you're holding a device that is talking to a time traveler. You're holding proof that time is not constant. The phone in your hand is bridging the gap between the fast time of space and the slow time of the bedroom. You're living in a relativistic universe. It is not just theory, it is engineering. Now, let's come down a little lower. Let's look at a human example. Let's look at the International Space Station. It is floating about 250 miles up. It is moving much faster than the GPS satellites, 17,500 miles per hour. At that speed, the slowing down effect of motion is stronger than the speeding up effect of gravity. So, the astronauts on board are aging slower than us. There is a famous Russian cosmonaut named Sergei Krikalev. He holds the record for the most time spent in orbit. He spent 803 days floating in the tin can, circling the world. For 2 years, he was moving faster than almost any other human being in history. He was living in a high-speed reference frame, and when he came back to Earth, the physicist did the math. Because of his speed, he had travelled into the future, not by much, by about 0.02 seconds. Sergei Krikalev is living 0.02 seconds in the future compared to where he would have been if he had stayed home. He is the world's greatest time traveller. It is a tiny amount. It is less than a heartbeat, but it is real. He is technically younger than his birth certificate says he should be. He cheated the universe out of a fraction of a second. This proves that the twin paradox isn't just a story. It is happening to real people. If we could build a ship that went fast enough, if we could go 99% of the speed of light instead of just 17,000 miles per hour, that 0.02 seconds would become 0.02 centuries. The physics works. We just don't have the engines yet. Why is this comforting? Why does knowing about Sergei Krikalev help you sleep? Because it confirms that your state of rest is also a state of physics. If moving fast changes your time, then staying still changes your time too. You are the anti-astronaut. Sergei was racing around the planet to save a millisecond. He was vibrating, he was working, he was flying, and he saved a tiny crumb of time. But you're doing something different. You're not trying to save time. You're trying to experience it. By staying on Earth, by staying deep in the gravity well, you're choosing to live in the thick time. You're choosing the maximum duration. You're choosing to feel every second. Think about the experiment they did in 1971. Two physicists named Hafele and Keating took 4 atomic clocks. They bought tickets on commercial airliners. They flew around the world twice. Once eastward, once westward. They were just guys in suits, sitting in coach, with nuclear clocks in the seat next to them. The other passengers probably had no idea. When they landed, they compared their clocks to the one at the US Naval Observatory, and sure enough, the clocks had drifted. They were off by exactly the amount Einstein predicted. This means that every time you get on a plane, you're time traveling. Every time you fly from New York to London, you age a tiny bit differently than your friend who stayed at the airport. You're constantly drifting in and out of sync with the people you love. We are all drifting. None of us are perfectly aligned. And that is okay. It is actually beautiful. It means we are all on our own journeys. We are all little ships on a vast ocean, bobbing on different waves. Sometimes we are close, sometimes we drift, apart. But tonight, the drifting stops. Tonight, you are docking. Your bed is the docking station. You're locking your coordinates. You're shutting down the engines. You're no longer a satellite spinning in the dark. You're the ground station. You're the control tower. And the control tower is quiet. There is a peace in knowing that the math works. It means the universe is not chaotic. It is precise. It is predictable. It follows rules. And one of those rules is everything must rest. Even the satellites eventually come down. Even the astronauts eventually land. Even the light eventually hits a wall and stops. The motion is temporary. The stillness is the goal. So, appreciate your stillness. You're not doing nothing. You're engaging in a specific gravitational interaction with the planet. You're maximizing your proper time. You're soaking up the reality of the moment. The astronauts are jealous of you. Up there, they are floating, they are unanchored. Their fluids shift. Their bones get weak. They dream of gravity. They dream of the heavy blanket. They dream of the pressure of the mattress. You have what they want. You have the weight. So feel it. Feel the luxury of being heavy. Feel the luxury of being slow. You are the baseline. You are the standard. The universe is whizzing around you, trying to find its place, but you have already found yours. You are here. TZ now. Location, bed. Velocity, 0. Perfect. Let the satellites watch over you. They're ticking fast so you don't have to. They're doing the maths so you can sleep. Thank them. And then, ignore them. You have your own clock, and it is winding down. Tick, tock. The experiment is successful. The subject, you, is relaxed. We have travelled a long way together tonight. We have stood on the platform of the present. We have watched the train of the future rushing toward us. We have learned that we can speed up the train or slow it down just by moving or sleeping. Forward time travel is solved. It is a fact of nature. You are a voyager to the future, whether you like it or not. But there is a question that still lingers in the quiet of the room. It is the question that brought you here. It is the question that beats in the heart of every person who has ever lost something, or missed someone, or made a mistake. Can we go back? Can we turn the ship around? Can we revisit the stations we've already passed? This is the holy grail of physics, and it is the deepest ache of the human soul. The desire to go back is not just about curiosity, it is about restoration. We want to go back to the days when we were children, when the summers felt endless. We want to go back to the moment before the glass broke. We want to go back to the conversation where we said the wrong thing. We want the power of undo. In the digital world, undo is easy. You type a sentence, you make a typo, you press Command Z, the mistake vanishes, the timeline is repaired. But in the physical world, the undo button is missing, or at least, it seems to be. Tonight, we're going to look for it. We're going to walk up to the one-way sign that hangs over the universe, and we're going to inspect it very closely. Because, and this is the secret that physicists whisper to each other, the sign might not be as solid as it looks. Let's start with the equations. When we look at the fundamental laws of reality, the laws that govern how atoms bump into each other, or how planets spin, or how light moves, we find something very strange. The equations are symmetrical. This means they work equally well in both directions. If you take a video of a planet orbiting a star, and you play it forward, it makes perfect sense. Gravity works, momentum works, but if you play that video in reverse, it still makes perfect sense. The planet simply orbits the other way. Gravity still works. Momentum still works. If you video a billiard ball hitting another ball, clack, and they scatter, and then you play it backward, the balls come together and stop. To a physicist, that backward collision is perfectly valid. It could happen. The math allows it. This is called T-symmetry, time symmetry. It implies that at the deepest layer of reality, the universe does not care which way the clock is ticking. There is no forward arrow built into the atoms themselves. The atoms are happy to go backward. So, if the bricks of the universe are allowed to go backward, why is the house forced to go forward? Why can't we reverse? This is the mystery. We are trapped in a forward motion that our own atoms don't seem to understand. But because the math allows it, Einstein's theory allows us to dream. Einstein's General Relativity, the theory of the curved mattress, does not explicitly forbid backward travel. In fact, it suggests a shape for it. We usually think of time travel as jumping. We imagine a machine vanishing from 2024 and appearing in 1985. Poof. But physics suggests it wouldn't look like a jump. It would look like a loop. Imagine you're walking on a path in the woods. You're walking forward, always forward. You never turn around. You never retrace your steps. You walk for an hour, but suddenly you look up and you realize you're back at your front door. You didn't turn around. You didn't walk backward. You just followed the path. And the path curved. The path made a circle. In physics, this is called a closed time-like curve, a CTC. It is a loop in the fabric of space-time. If you could find one of these loops, or build one, you wouldn't have to reverse time. You would just have to keep moving forward. Until forward became past. Think about how gentle that feels. You don't have to fight the river. You don't have to swim upstream against the current. You just have to find a place where the river bends back on itself, like a lazy oxbow in a stream. If you rode that current, you would drift past your own history. You would drift past yesterday. You would drift past your childhood. You would be a traveller on a carousel. The scenery repeats. The music returns. Now. Why is this idea soothing? Why is the idea of a loop better than a rewind? Because a loop implies continuity. It implies that the story doesn't break. When we think of rewinding, we think of chaos. We think of unbreaking the egg. But a loop is smooth, a loop is a circle, and the circle is the most peaceful shape in the universe. The earth circles the sun, the moon circles the earth, the hands circle the clock. Maybe, just maybe, time itself is a giant circle. Maybe the universe is destined to repeat. Maybe the Big Bang at the beginning and the big crunch at the end are the same moment. If that is true, then nothing is ever truly lost. It just hasn't come around again yet. We're just on the far side of the wheel. But let's come back to your room. Let's come back to the desire to visit the past. Even if we cannot build a closed time-like curve tonight, we possess a biological version of it. We have a machine that can loop time. It is called memory. We often dismiss memory as just imagination, but think about the fidelity of it. Think about how real it feels. When you close your eyes and remember a quiet moment from years ago, you are reactivating the exact same neural patterns that fired when it happened. To your brain, there is very little difference between seeing and remembering. The same lights turn on in the theatre. You are performing a mental loop. You are walking the path back to the front door, and in this safe, private form of time travel, you have total control. You can visit the good parts. You can skip the bad parts. You can pause. You can linger. The physical past is dangerous. If you went back there, you might step on a butterfly. You might change history. You might cause a paradox. But the memory past is safe. It is a museum where nothing can be broken. The exhibits are behind glass. You can walk through the halls and look and feel, but you cannot disturb the dust. There is a peace in that restriction. If we could go back physically, we would never rest. We would spend all our energy trying to fix things. We would be tinkering with our lives forever. Let me just change this one word. Let me just take this one different turn. We would be exhausted editors of our own story. But because we cannot go back physically, we are forced to accept the draft. We are forced to say, it is written. The ink is dry. The book is bound. And that finality is what allows us to sleep. If the past was fluid, we would be up all night worrying about it. But the past is solid. It is a foundation. You can build on it, but you don't have to maintain it. So, as you think about the concept of backward travel, look at it with curiosity, not regret. Look at it as a beautiful impossibility, like a mountain that is too high to climb. You can admire the peak, you can dream about the view, but you're happy to stay in the valley. The one-way sign is not a punishment. It is a guardrail. It keeps us from driving off the edge of causality. It keeps the story making sense. Physics tells us that the door to the past is theoretically ajar. The equations don't slam it shut. They leave a tiny crack, a whisper of possibility. And in the next chapter, we're going to peek through that crack. We're going to talk about wormholes. We're going to talk about the tunnels that might, just might, connect the now to the then. But for this moment, be content with the direction you are facing. You're facing the dark, quiet potential of tomorrow. The past is behind you. It is backing you up. It is supporting you. You don't need to go back there. You carry it with you. Every cell in your body is a souvenir from the past. Every memory is a postcard. You are the vessel that contains your history. So, carry it gently and carry it forward. The loop is in your mind, the line is in your life, and both are beautiful geometries. We've talked about loops, we've talked about circles, we've talked about the strange symmetry of the equations that suggest the universe might not care which way the clock ticks. But now, we must talk about the tunnel. If you have ever seen a science fiction movie, or read a book about time travel, you have heard the word wormhole. It is a word that sparks the imagination. It sounds organic, like a burrow through the earth, like a secret passage in an old house. But in physics, it has a much more elegant formal name. It is called an Einstein-Rosen bridge. It was named after Albert Einstein, our friend from the patent office, and his colleague Nathan Rosen. In 1935, they wrote a paper, and in this paper, they suggested that the fabric of space-time might have a back door. To understand this, we have to stop thinking of the universe as a flat, endless sheet. We have to start thinking of it as origami. Imagine you are a tiny ant walking on a large sheet of paper. You're standing at the bottom of the page, point A, and you want to get to the top of the page, point B. To you, the ant, the journey is long. You have to walk every single inch of the white space. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes patience. You have to traverse the distance. But now, imagine a giant hand reaches down. The hand takes the paper and folds it gently in half. It bends the paper until the bottom edge touches the top edge. Point A touches point B. Suddenly, the distance is 0. The ant can just step across the gap. The ant has found a shortcut. This is a wormhole. It is a tunnel that connects two distant points in space-time. Now, usually we think of wormholes as connecting space. We think of jumping from Earth to a distant galaxy. We think of a shortcut across the stars. But remember what we learned earlier? Space and time are the same fabric. They are woven together. If you can fold space, you can fold time. So, theoretically, an Einstein-Rosen bridge could connect two different times. One mouth of the wormhole could be in today, the other mouth could be in last year or next century. If you stepped into the tunnel, you wouldn't just be stepping across the galaxy, you would be stepping across the calendar. Let's visualize what this would look like, not with flashing lights, but with physics. Imagine a sphere floating in the corner of your room. It looks like a crystal ball. It is shimmering. But when you look into it, you don't see the reflection of the room. You see a different place, or a different time. It is a window, a spherical window hanging in the air. The surface of the sphere is the event horizon of the wormhole. It is the throat of the tunnel. If you were to reach your hand into that sphere, your hand would disappear from now. It would emerge somewhere else, perhaps a year ago, perhaps 1,000 years ago. You could shake hands with your ancestors. You could high-five the future. This idea is incredibly seductive. It offers us a way to cheat the long walk. We are tired of walking the long way around the paper. We are tired of the linear path. We want the fold. But is it real, or is it just math? Einstein's equations say, maybe. The math allows for a wormhole to exist. It allows for the geometry to pinch and connect. It doesn't break the rules of relativity to draw this shape on the chalkboard. But the universe seems to have put up some very serious construction barriers. It seems to have made the tunnel very hard to enter. First of all, gravity naturally wants to close the tunnel. Gravity pulls things together. It crushes. If a wormhole opened naturally, gravity would slam it shut instantly, faster than a blink, faster than light. Before you could even think about stepping through, the bridge would collapse, and you would be crushed. To keep the tunnel open, you would need something to prop up the walls. You would need a scaffolding. And this scaffolding would have to be made of something very strange. It would have to be made of exotic matter, or negative energy. Now, negative energy sounds like something from a fantasy novel, but in quantum mechanics, it is a real concept. We have seen tiny hints of it in the lab. We have seen the Casimir effect, where two metal plates are pushed together by the vacuum of space. This suggests that negative energy is not impossible, but to gather enough of it, to gather enough negative energy to hold open a wormhole big enough for a human, you would need the energy of a star or a galaxy. It is a massive engineering project. It is a project for a civilization 1,000,000 years older than ours. So, why do we talk about it tonight? Why do we let our minds wander down these theoretical tunnels? Because the idea of the shortcut is comforting. It tells us that the universe is not just a prison of distance. It tells us that the topology of reality is complex. It is foldable. It is flexible. Think about the wormholes you experience in your dreams. In a dream, you're in your childhood home. Then you walk through a door, and suddenly you're at your office. Then you turn around, and you're on a beach. Your mind folds space and time effortlessly. Your subconscious is a master of the Einstein-Rosen bridge. It connects memories that have no business being together. It connects feelings that are miles apart. When you sleep, you're exploring the non-linear geometry of your own soul. You're folding the paper of your life. This is why dreams feel so strange, yet so familiar. You're bypassing the rules of distance. You're bypassing the rules of duration. So, as you lie there, imagine the folded paper. Your life feels like a long, straight line. Birth, childhood, adulthood, old age. It feels like a long walk. But maybe, in the higher dimensions, your life is folded. Maybe the beginning and the end are touching. Maybe the lost moment and the found moment are just opposite sides of the same page. There is a beautiful symmetry to this thought. It suggests that we are closer to our loved ones than we think. We think they are far away in time. We think they are gone. But if the paper is folded, they might be right next to us, just across the gap, just a whisper away. The wall of time might be thin. Let's go back to the physics of the tunnel for a moment. If you did enter a wormhole, what would happen to your clock? Inside the tunnel, time would behave very strangely. You might spend an hour walking through the tunnel, but outside, 1,000 years might pass. Or you might walk for a minute and arrive yesterday. The tunnel is a place where time dilation goes wild. It is a place where the rules of cause and effect get tangled. And this brings us to the danger of the paradox. If you went back and you changed something, the universe might get confused. It might not know how to fold the paper anymore. But we will talk about paradoxes later. For now, just focus on the architecture. Focus on the bridge. A bridge is a hopeful thing. A bridge connects things that are separated by a chasm. We feel separated from our past. We feel a chasm between who we were and who we are. We feel a chasm between now and then. The Einstein-Rosen bridge is a promise that the chasm can be spanned. Even if we can't build it with metal, we can build it with physics. We can build it with hope. Think about the silence of the tunnel. It is shielded from the normal flow of time. Inside the wormhole, the noise of history cannot reach you. You're in a pocket of space-time, a bubble. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound like your bedroom? Your room is a wormhole. You enter it at night. You close the door. You turn off the lights. You disconnect from the timeline of the world. You spend 8 hours inside the bubble, and then you emerge on the other side in a new day. You're practicing the art of the tunnel every single night. You are a traveller of the fold. So, accept the fold. Don't worry about the distance. Don't worry about how far you have to go. The universe has shortcuts. The universe has back doors. The universe is more connected than it seems. Rest in the fold. Rest in the bridge. The way is shorter than you think. We have talked about the energy it takes to bend time. We have talked about the stiff walls of the universe. But there is one more barrier we have to face. It is not a barrier of energy. It is a barrier of logic. It is the barrier that prevents the universe from going insane. We call it the grandfather paradox. You've probably heard this story before. It is the classic riddle of time travel. Imagine you build a time machine. You go back 50 years. You walk up to your own grandfather when he is young, before he met your grandmother. And you, well, you stop him from meeting her. You intervene. So, your grandparents never marry. Your parents are never born. And you are never born. But wait, if you were never born, then you never built the time machine. And if you never built the time machine, you never went back. And if you never went back, your grandfather did meet your grandmother. So you were born. So you did go back. Round and round it goes. It is a logical nightmare. It is a short circuit in the wiring of reality. It breaks the most fundamental rule of existence, causality, cause and effect. The cause must always come before the effect. If the effect destroys the cause, the universe collapses into nonsense. Now, why are we talking about this scary loop while you're trying to sleep? Because the solution to this paradox is incredibly comforting. Physicists have spent decades thinking about this, and they have come up with a theory. It is called the Novikov self-consistency principle. It is a fancy name, but the idea is simple. It says, the universe will not allow you to break the story. It says that if you tried to go back and change the past, you would fail. Not because a monster would stop you, but because fate would stop you. Imagine you tried to shoot the gun to stop the meeting. The gun would jam. Imagine you tried to miss the train. You would slip and fall, and end up on the train anyway. The universe would conspire to make sure that the events must happen. You cannot change the past, because you are part of the past. You were always there. Your attempt to change it was actually part of the history that led to your birth. This implies that we live in a deterministic universe, a universe where the script is already written and the ink is dry. Now, some people find this thought scary. They want free will, but late at night, when the weight of the world is on your shoulders, Determinism is a blessing. It means you don't have to carry the burden of what if. We stay awake at night torturing ourselves with scenarios. What if I had taken that other job? What if I hadn't said that? What if I had turned left instead of right? We imagine that we had the power to break the timeline. We imagine that we ruined everything. But the self-consistency principle says, relax. You couldn't have done it any other way. Because you didn't. The path you walked was the only path that could have existed. The mistakes you made were necessary bricks in the wall of now. If you removed those mistakes, the wall would fall. The person you are today, the person lying in this bed, breathing this air, is the sum of those errors. If you deleted the errors, you would delete yourself. So, accept the paradox. Accept the chain of events. Cause leads to effect. Effect leads to the next cause. It is a solid, unbreakable chain. You are linked to your past by iron, not by thread. It cannot be snapped. Think about the feeling of inevitability. Usually we fight it, but tonight, surrender to it. The sun was inevitable. The moon was inevitable. This moment of rest was inevitable. Physics tells us that the information in the universe is conserved. You cannot destroy information. This means the story of your life is indestructible. It is etched into the geometry of space-time. So, stop trying to be the editor. You are not the editor. You are the reader. And the chapter you're reading now is called Sleep. There is no plot twist coming tonight. There is no paradox waiting in the dark. Just the steady, logical, rhythmic flow of time. If you went back in time, you would just end up here again. You would make the same choices, you would feel the same feelings, you would end up in this same bed. Because this is where you belong. This is the coordinate that the universe calculated for you. So, let the grandfather meet the grandmother. Let their past happen. Let the history stand. It is holding you up. It is the foundation of your house. You don't need to go down into the basement and check the cracks. The house is standing. The roof is holding. The causality is secure. You are safe from the loop. You are safe from the contradiction. You exist. And that is proof enough that the universe works. So close your eyes and let the story continue forward. The next page is blank, and it is waiting for you to dream it. We have reached the point in the night where we must separate the dream from the reality. We have flown through the wormholes of our imagination. We have raced the twins across the galaxy. We have listened to the screech of the feedback loop, but now, as the mind begins to truly settle, it craves the truth. It wants to know the rules, not the maybe rules, but the definitely rules. So, let us look at the official map of the universe, as drawn by the thousands of physicists who have spent their lives studying the architecture of time. What is allowed, and what is strictly forbidden? It turns out, the universe has a very clear zoning code. Rule number 1. Forward travel is mandatory. This is the law we have already accepted. You're allowed, in fact you are forced to travel to the future. You can change the speed at which you arrive by moving fast or sleeping near a black hole, but you cannot change the destination. The universe is a machine designed to transport energy from the past to the future. It is a conveyor belt, and you are on it. This rule is absolute. There are no exemptions. Every atom in your body is marching toward tomorrow. You don't have to do anything to make it happen. It is the default state of existence. Rule number 2. Backward travel is, likely, impossible for you. Notice I said, for you. This is a crucial distinction. In the strange world of quantum mechanics, the world of subatomic particles, things get fuzzy. An electron might be able to do a tiny loop in time. A positron, an anti-electron, can essentially be described mathematically as an electron moving backward in time. But you are not an electron. You are a macroscopic object. You are a classical object. You are made of 7 octillion atoms. You are heavy. You are complex. You are warm. And the universe treats big warm things very differently than it treats tiny cold things. To send a human back in time, you would have to synchronize every single one of those 7 octillion atoms. You would have to reverse the entropy of your entire body perfectly. If you missed a single atom, you wouldn't arrive as a human. You would arrive as soup. So, while the equations might allow a single particle to skip a beat, they strictly forbid a human being from turning around. Your complexity anchors you to the arrow of time. This is called the thermodynamic barrier. It is the wall of probability. It is statistically impossible for you to go back. It is like trying to unshuffle a deck of cards by throwing them into the air. Could they land in perfect order? Theoretically, yes. Will they? Never in the lifetime of the universe. So, for all practical purposes, the door to the past is locked, and it is double-bolted by your own biology. Rule number 3. You can look, but you cannot touch. This is the most beautiful loophole in the rulebook. While your body cannot go back, your eyes can. We are all time travelers of vision. When you look at the moon, you are seeing it as it was 1.3 seconds ago. When you look at the sun, you are seeing it as it was 8 minutes ago. When you look at the stars, you are seeing them as they were years, centuries, or millennia ago. If you look at the Andromeda Galaxy, a faint smudge in the night sky, you're looking 2.5 million years into the past. You're seeing light that left that galaxy before humans even walked the Earth. The universe allows us to be historians. It allows us to be observers. It gives us a window into the deep past, but it puts glass in the window. You can see the history of the cosmos, but you cannot interfere with it. You cannot shout at the Andromeda Galaxy and change what happened 2 million years ago. The signal has already been sent. The play is already over. We are the audience. We're sitting in the back row of the theatre. We can watch the movie of the universe unfold, but we cannot jump onto the screen. Rule number 4. The cosmic sensor. There is a famous idea proposed by the physicist Roger Penrose. He called it the cosmic censorship hypothesis. It deals with the nasty parts of space, the singularities, the centers of black holes where physics breaks down, the places where time travel might be possible because the laws are so broken. Penrose suggested that the universe has a rule. All singularities must be clothed. It means that every singularity must be hidden behind an event horizon. It must be wrapped in a cloak of darkness that prevents us from seeing it or interacting with it. The universe effectively says, this part of the code is buggy. I am going to hide it behind a wall so you can't play with it. It censors the dangerous regions. It forbids naked singularities. This implies that even if a time machine existed naturally, it would be hidden inside a black hole where we could never reach it. We are protected from the chaos. We are kept in the safe, orderly, censored part of space-time. Why is this list of rules comforting? Why should a list of forbidden things help you sleep? Because limitations create peace. Imagine if you could do anything. Imagine if you could fly and time travel and change the past and see the future. Your mind would never rest. You would be paralyzed by the infinite choices. You would be terrified of the infinite consequences. Did I ruin the timeline? Should I go back and fix it? Which century should I sleep in? Absolute freedom is absolute stress. But the laws of physics are boundaries. They are the walls of the playpen. They tell us, you can only be here. You can only go this fast. You can only move this way. And inside those walls, we can relax. We don't have to manage the universe. The universe manages itself. We don't have to worry about the past, because it is out of bounds. We don't have to worry about the speed of light, because we can't reach it. We are left with a very small, very manageable sandbox. It is called human life. It operates at low speeds. It operates in weak gravity. It operates in forward time. This is the Goldilocks zone of existence. Not too fast, not too slow, just right. You're living in the habitable zone of time. So, accept the restrictions. Do not bang on the locked doors. Do not wish for the wall to break. The wall is what keeps the roof up. Think about the structure of your day. You wake up. Start. You live. Middle. You sleep. End. This structure is enforced by the rotation of the Earth and the biology of your brain. It is a classical structure. It is predictable. It is rhythmic. If quantum mechanics ruled your life, you might wake up before you went to sleep. You might have breakfast yesterday. That would be a nightmare. We should be grateful that we are classical objects. We should be grateful for the heaviness of our atoms. Our heaviness anchors us to the logic of the story, so tonight, feel the comfort of the rules. Gravity is pulling you down, rule of mass. Time is moving you forward, rule of entropy. The past is staying behind you, rule of causality. Everything is working exactly as it should. There are no glitches in your room. There are no wormholes under the bed. Just the solid, reliable, unchangeable laws of nature, holding you, carrying you, protecting you. You are a law-abiding citizen of the cosmos, and the cosmos takes care of its own. So let the physics settle. The equations are balanced, the variables are defined. The solution is rest. We've arrived at the penultimate chapter of our story. We have dreamed big. We have looked at the math that says maybe. We have looked at the wormholes that say perhaps. But now, we have to look at the engineering. We have to ask the practical question. If the math allows it, why haven't we done it? Why aren't there tourists from the future walking around Times Square? Why is the past so stubbornly inaccessible? The answer lies in the sheer cost of the journey. It turns out that the universe charges a very high price for breaking its rules. It doesn't just ask for a toll, it asks for a fortune. There are three main reasons why time travel remains stuck on the chalkboard. Three giant walls that physics has built to keep us in the present. Wall number one, the energy crisis. To bend space and time, you need mass. We learned this from Einstein. The Earth bends space a little bit. That's gravity. The Sun bends space a lot. That holds the planets. A black hole. Bends space infinitely. That traps light. To build a time machine, you need to bend space even more than a black hole. You need to twist it into a knot. You need to puncture it. To do this, you would need an amount of energy that is almost impossible to comprehend. Imagine all the energy the sun produces in a second. It is enough to blow up the Earth. Now imagine all the energy the sun produces in its entire lifetime. Billions of years of burning. That is roughly the amount of energy you would need to keep a wormhole open for a split second. You would need to harvest the power of a galaxy and focus it into a ring the size of a hula hoop. We are a civilization that burns coal and splits atoms. We are playing with matches. The universe demands a supernova. This is the Planck energy. It is the energy scale where space and time start to melt, and it is trillions and trillions of times higher than anything we can produce. Why is this comforting? Because it means the walls of reality are thick. They are not made of paper. They are made of diamond. It takes a godlike amount of force to dent the walls of your reality. This means you are safe from accidents. You don't have to worry about a scientist in a lab accidentally pressing a button and deleting yesterday. They can't afford the electric bill. The universe has priced time travel out of the market. Wall number 2, the missing ingredient. We talked briefly about exotic matter, the stuff with negative mass, the stuff you need to prop open the wormhole. Well, there is a slight problem. We can't find any. Every single thing we have ever discovered in the universe, every rock, every star, every gas cloud, has positive mass. It falls down. It attracts other things. Negative matter would be repulsive. It would fall up. If you pushed it, it would move toward you. It is unobtainium. The math says it could exist, but nature seems to have decided not to stock it on the shelves. It is like having a recipe for a cake that requires solid sunlight. You can write the recipe. You can imagine the taste of the cake, but you cannot bake it. The universe seems to be built entirely of positive stuff, and positive stuff creates positive time, forward time. This suggests that the structure of the universe is inherently biased towards stability. It doesn't want to be folded. It wants to be flat. It wants to be simple. We often think of the universe as mysterious and magical, but in this regard, the universe is actually very boring. It is conservative. It likes things to follow the rules, and for a sleeper, boring is the best possible news. You want a boring universe. You want a universe that is predictable. You want a universe that doesn't have trapdoors hidden in the dark matter. Wall number 3, the paradox of silence. This is the strongest argument against time travel, and it doesn't require any math. It just requires observation. It is called the Fermi paradox of time. If time travel were possible, where are the travelers? If humanity survives for another 1,000,000 years, surely we'll figure it out. And if we figure it out, surely we would come back to visit, to see the pyramids being built, to see the first moon landing, to see us. But we look around, and we see no one. No tourists, no future cameras, no guidebooks. The silence is deafening. Some people say, maybe they are invisible. Maybe they have a rule not to interfere. But physicists suspect the answer is simpler. They aren't here because they can't be here, because the door only opens one way. This silence is actually a form of protection. Imagine if the past was a tourist destination. Imagine if the future generations could come back and trample through our lives. Our privacy would be gone. Our autonomy would be gone. We would be actors in a museum exhibit, performing for an audience we can't see. But the silence tells us that we are alone in our time. We own this moment. The year 2026 belongs to us. It doesn't belong to the future. This gives our lives weight. It gives our choices meaning. If the future could just come back and fix our mistakes, then our mistakes wouldn't matter. But because they can't, our actions are real. They have consequences. They are permanent. We are the authors of history, and no editor can come from the future to rewrite our draft. This is a heavy responsibility, but it is also a noble one. It means we are the guardians of the timeline. So, as you weigh the evidence, the scale tips heavily toward impossible. But do not be sad about this. We often equate impossible with failure. But in physics, impossible often means safe. It is impossible for the Earth to suddenly fly out of the solar system. Good. It is impossible for your atoms to suddenly fly apart. Good. It is impossible for the past to be undone. Good. The impossibility of time travel is the bedrock of your sanity. It allows you to trust your memory. If time travel were real, your memories could be overwritten at any moment. You could wake up remembering a life you never lived. But because the physics is rigid, your mind is secure. Your past is yours. It is locked in a vault that no one can open. So, look at the walls of your room. They are solid. They represent the solidity of the laws of nature. The universe is not a chaotic dreamscape where anything can happen. It is a structured, orderly, reliable place. It is a place where Tuesday follows Monday. It is a place where 11 p.m. leads to midnight. It is a place where sleep leads to waking. The path is clear. There are no detours. There are no shortcuts. Just a straight, smooth, honest road of time. You can walk it with confidence. You can sleep on it with confidence. The theoretical door is closed, but the real door, the door to your dreams, is wide open. And that is the only travel you need tonight. You don't need to go to the 22nd century. You just need to go to tomorrow morning. And physics guarantees with absolute certainty that you will arrive. So let go of the theoretical. Embrace the actual. The actual is warm blankets. The actual is heavy eyelids. The actual is the peace of the present moment. Let the scientists argue about the wormholes. Let the mathematicians scribble their symbols. You have a more important job. Your job is to rest. Your job is to let the universe carry you forward. The machine is working perfectly. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to understand it. You just need to ride it. And in the final chapter, we will gently bring this machine to a stop. We will land the ship, and we will say good night to the dimension of time. But for now, accept the safety of the impossibility. You are here, you are now, and that is exactly where you're meant to be. And so, we have reached the end of our journey. We've travelled from the ticking clock on your wall, to the speed of light, to the edge of the wormhole, and back again. We have asked the universe the hardest questions we could think of. Can we go back? Can we skip ahead? Can we cheat the rules? And the universe has answered us, sometimes with a yes, sometimes with a no, and sometimes with a quiet, mysterious silence. But now, it is time to put the questions away. It is time to close the textbook. It is time to turn off the laboratory lights, because the physics of time travel, ultimately, leads us back to a single, simple truth. A truth that is more comforting than any machine. The truth is, the present moment is the only destination that matters. We spend so much of our lives trying to be elsewhere. We try to live in the memories of the past. We try to live in the anxieties of the future. We're constantly trying to time travel with our minds, but physics tells us that the now is special. The now is the only place where energy exists. The now is the only place where you can breathe. The now is the only place where you can sleep. Think about the journey of a river one last time. The river starts high in the mountains. That is the past. It rushes down through the canyons. That is the struggle. But eventually, every river widens. Every river slows down. Every river reaches the delta. The delta is the place where the river meets the sea. The water stops rushing, it spreads out, it becomes calm. It loses its momentum and finds its depth. Tonight, you have reached the delta. You're at the mouth of the great ocean of sleep. The ocean has no time. The waves rise and fall, but the water is eternal. When you enter the ocean, you are leaving the timeline behind. You are entering the timeless. Let's do a final review of your status as a traveller. You are not lost. You are not late. You are not running out of time. You're simply paused. Think of the block universe we talked about earlier, the frozen loaf of bread. Your life is a beautiful, solid shape inside that loaf. Nothing can erase it. Nothing can damage it. The past is safe. It is locked in the amber of history. The future is safe. It is waiting in the dark, ready to be discovered. So, you don't need to guard the past, and you don't need to build the future. Not tonight. Tonight, your only job is to exist in the slice, the thin, warm, comfortable slice of 11 p.m. Feel the bed beneath you. That is your anchor in the slice. Feel the blanket. That is your shield. You are a fixed point in a moving universe. Let's release the desire for the time machine. We wanted the machine because we wanted control. We wanted to fix things. We wanted to be the masters of our destiny. But there is a relief in admitting that we are not the masters. We are the passengers. The universe is driving the car. And the universe knows the way. It has been driving for 13.8 billion years. It has never made a wrong turn. It has never crashed. It created the stars. It created the earth. It created the atoms in your blood. And it created the rhythm of sleep. If the universe thinks you need to sleep right now, then you probably need to sleep. If the physics of your body is demanding rest, then rest is the correct answer to the equation. Trust the physics, trust the biology, trust the flow. Imagine that you are gently handing over the keys. You're handing the keys of your life to the universe. Here, you say. You drive for a while. I'm going to take a nap in the back seat. The engine is humming. The road is smooth. The stars are blurring in the window. You're safe in the back seat. You can close your eyes. Let's count down. Not backward in numbers, but forward in relaxation. Let's move through the dimensions one last time. Dimension 1, length. Feel your body lengthening, stretching out. Releasing the tension in your spine. You're taking up space. You're claiming your territory in the world. Dimension 2, width. Feel your shoulders widening, melting into the mattress. The knots are untying. The tightness is dissolving. Dimension 3, height. Feel yourself sinking down, lower, deeper, moving toward the center of the earth. Gravity is holding you close. Dimension 4, time. Feel the moment expanding. The ticking clock is fading away. The second is becoming a minute. The minute is becoming an hour. The hour is becoming eternity. You're stepping out of the stream. You're climbing onto the bank. The water flows by, but you're dry. You're still. The paradoxes are resolved. The equations are balanced. X, sleep. Now, you have solved the problem of the day. The answer is rest. And as you drift, remember the promise of the future. We talked about forward travel. We talked about the time skip. The machine is ready. The stasis pod is active. The destination is set for morning. It is a good destination. There is light there. There is coffee there. There is a new start there. But you can't get there by walking. You can only get there by letting go. So, let go. Release the handle. Release the worry. Release the time. You are a traveller of the night. You are a voyager of the quiet. The universe is wrapping its dark coat around you. It is hiding you from the entropy. It is recharging your cells. You are time travelling. The natural way. The slow way. The human way. Good night, traveller. Good night, physicist. Good night, dreamer. The clock has stopped. The world has stopped. There is only silence, peace, and sleep.